this is Dr. Forth, and today we're talking about frozen shoulder and methods that you can use for pain relief at home that will also help you improve your range of motion. So, frozen shoulder, this is where you actually have progressively less motion in the shoulder, and it's very painful. Can be extremely frustrating for both the patient and the doctors trying to work with it. We don't really know what exactly causes it, but what's happening is the joint capsule, the membrane around the joint, and by the way, the shoulder joint that we're actually talking about specifically is this ball and socket joint here, where the head of the arm bone reaches in and connects with the shoulder blade. So we have a membrane around there, that's the joint capsule. And the joint capsule gets inflamed. And with the inflammation, we have an increased amount of collagen scar tissue type fibers that are going to be produced as a result of the inflammation. And that's going to lead to less and less motion. So the shoulder becomes very restricted. We don't know what causes it. There are some conditions that seem to maybe be associated with it: diabetes, thyroid problems, any condition where you have prolonged immobility. And it seems to be more prevalent in women rather than men. And as far as the diabetes, by the way, diabetics often develop problems with joint inflammation and mobility. It's not just in the shoulder joint. I've seen patients with problems in the finger joints where they didn't bend properly, and we got pretty good resolution with that as well. So there's three states of the frozen shoulder. The first one is freezing, which is increased pain, progressive loss of motion. This can last for weeks to months. Then we have the frozen state. The stages are named for frozen shoulder. So we have freezing, frozen, and thawing. So the frozen state, the pain is gradually decreasing, but you have persistent stiffness and immobility, often equally in the passive and active range of motion. By the way, passive is where the doctor takes the joint and moves it. Active is where the patient moves it. The third stage is thawing. So you have continued decrease in pain and gradual improvement in range of motion. So this whole process can take years. So it's very lengthy and frustrating for the patient. Usually, the pain gets fully relieved and range of motion is often restored, but sometimes, in some cases, it becomes chronic and the patient does not get resolution. So they have chronic pain and restriction. So we definitely don't want that. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do at home if you feel like you're having this restriction and pain process going on. The exercises and stretches, the key with this is you want to actually move the joint, but not so much and so vigorously that you irritate it and increase inflammation. So it's kind of a fine line there. We want to keep the motion. We want to make sure that we're keeping things moving and preventing scar tissue from developing, but we don't want to mobilize so vigorously that we just fire up that inflammatory response. So that's why we're going to do it maybe 5, 6 times a day, really brief intervals, just doing motion. And the first one that I like for any kind of shoulder problem, it's very, very light and easy to do. I call it pendulum exercise. So you imagine that you're hand and arm are like a plumb bob. So you have the thread and the weight hanging down. You're just going to let your arm dangle and lean over and just let your arm make little circles and figure eights. And that should be really pretty easy to do, even if you have some significant pain going on. So you start with that. That's the easiest one. And then we're going to do wall climbing exercises. So you lift your arm in front and using your fingers like you're climbing up a little ladder in front of you, go right up to the point where it feels uncomfortable, and then climb back down. And as you do this consistently, you'll find that you're able to get gradually small increments more motion with that. Also, we're going to do internal and external rotation. Well, what does that mean? Have your arm at your side, bend your elbow to 90 degrees, and you make a fist with your hand. Bring the fist across in front of your body, and then turn your arm out and bring the fist back. So that's internal and external rotation of the shoulder joint, excuse me. And the next thing, crossbody adduction. You lift your arm up just like you did when you were climbing up the wall. Or instead of climbing up the wall, you're going to bring your arm across in front of you. And using the other arm, you can just stretch that so that you're bringing your arm across in front of your body. Do this in short sessions, multiple times a day. And you want to bring it up to the threshold of pain, but we're not trying to really stress the joint and really create pain. I recommend before you do your exercises and stretches that you apply some warm compresses, warm, not hot. So just slight warmth. Do your exercises. Remember, very short period of time. And we're not trying to really push the envelope. If your arm is really restricted and you can barely get it up there, just go to the point where you just start to feel the restriction. Okay? So you do your exercises. And again, all of these recommendations are general recommendations. You may need to consult with your personal physician about your case. And there's no value in trying to push the envelope and really, really challenge yourself, okay, by doing too much. So remember the purpose of these exercises. We want to keep everything moving, but we don't want to do it so vigorously that we really turn up the inflammatory response. So you do your warm compresses first, then you do your exercise, then you can do cool compresses. So take washcloth, cool water, and just place it over the area. Epsom salt soaks are a wonderful way to relieve discomfort. It's just not super convenient to submerge the shoulder. I have mentioned in other videos, I'm going to mention again here as well, kind of a cheat method for Epsom salt soak for areas that you cannot conveniently submerge. So you moisten the area and sprinkle a bunch of Epsom salts. You can get Epsom salts at any supermarket or pharmacy. They're really good for plants. Also, tomato plants love Epsom salts. So after you've moistened the area, you sprinkle the Epsom salt. By the way, it's a good idea if you put a towel down and you just kind of lay on the towel, or maybe even seated in a chair, put the towel so that you're not going to have Epsom salt all over everywhere because it gets very messy. So you wet the area, sprinkle the Epsom salts, and then you just put a moist compress over the top. If you want it slightly warm, that's okay, but not hot. And you can do that Epsom salt soak for maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. In my office, I also like ultrasound. You can use ultrasound for imaging, but ultrasound also has therapeutic properties. So I use therapeutic ultrasound in the office and red light therapy. Anti-inflammatory nutritional support is also beneficial. Actually, for any kind of injury or pain condition, these can be helpful. Reducing sugar intake because sugar fires up inflammation. Things like ginger and turmeric are wonderful anti-inflammatories. Those are just regular spices. You can add them to the food you're cooking. Turmeric, in particular, is fat soluble. So it absorbs best when you have it in a fat. So there's something called golden paste where you take turmeric and you put it with coconut oil and black pepper, and then you can use that in cooking. But you can also just put the turmeric in your curries and other things you're making as long as there's fat in it. Enzymes called bromelain and papain, these come from pineapple and papaya. And one of my patients actually made herself a pineapple papaya smoothie whenever she had pain or after some accidents. That's great, but pineapple and papaya are some of the highest sugar fruits that there are. So if you have any kind of insulin resistance or sugar problems, that's not going to be a good option. You can purchase tablets with those enzymes. They usually call it digestive enzymes at any of your local health food store. Now, if you take it with food, it helps with digestion. But if you take those enzymes outside of your normal eating time, it actually helps with inflammation. So that's something you could try as well. Vitamin C is anti-inflammatory. It actually has been shown in a study, which I will link in the description down below. It was an animal study, but they checked with supplementation of vitamin C. It's interesting that it was an animal study because most animals actually produce their own vitamin C. So it's interesting that they chose to supplement. So that would be above and beyond their normal biologic vitamin C levels. So the vitamin C has anti-inflammatory effects, and it also showed that it reduced the thickening of the scar tissue development. So that is a useful thing. Remember, vitamin C is water soluble. So if you're going to supplement with it, I suggest that you do like the 500 milligram. That's the standard little tablet that you can purchase at the store. Sometimes they have high dose ones that are 1,000, but the 500 seems to be the default one. So do that maybe 3 times a day rather than taking it all at once because it's water soluble. So if you take a big dose all at once, your kidneys will just flush that out. So those are some nutritional recommendations to help support you in that healing process. I hope you found some useful information there. Remember to like and subscribe so that you can see my next video.